So we know now that experiences are critical to building any community. But how do we think about communities in the context of a radically shifting context of identity? I'm pleased now to welcome my friend Moj Mahdara, CEO of Beautycon Media, to the Voices stage. Moj and I met at the Cannes Lions Festival earlier this year and exchanged our stories as the children of immigrants to people moving to North America. And yesterday in the morning, we touched on the ideas of gender identity and race and representation and how all of these identities are in rapid flux. Moj will paint a bit of a picture of new research she has conducted on niche identities, something she calls the pivotals, the sweet spot between Generation Z and millennials who refuse to accept traditional gender or traditional identity categories. So please welcome Moj.
Hi. Thank you, Imran, and the amazing Business of Fashion team. You guys have been so generous and sweet with your time and helping me get prepared for this, because this is the unveiling of this research, so thank you. My name is Moj. I am the CEO of Beautycon, and today we're going to talk about how niche is the new mass and what that means. A frequent question I get asked is, what's it like to run a beauty company when you so obviously do not wear makeup? My response is, neither do any of the other Fortune 500 beauty brands that are also run by men. They also do not wear makeup. The answer is a little bit more complex for me. I'm an Iranian American, born in Kentucky, the oldest of 3 girls, and raised in California. As a teenager, I lived for all things punk rock, hip hop, music. Essentially, my expertise was fandom. This is me at 17, driving my parents absolutely insane. My mother would say, outside may be America, but inside this house is Iran, which made no fucking sense to me. Right? What is that? They weren't thrilled about my blue hair, red hair, green hair, or being gay. My mom still calls that my situation. It's true, I'm not kidding. Like, literally, my situation. So I know what it means to be at the intersection of multiple identities and not feel at home in any of them, which is why I'm so inspired by this younger generation that we call pivotals. I'm inspired by their cultural rebellion, their challenging of traditional issues of gender, race, beauty, and sexuality. We were curious to learn more about them, so we researched and published our very first study. The largest study done to date on pivotals, their ideas on culture, identity, beauty, and we call this study FOMO. Who are pivotals? Clearly everyone wants to know. Even Anna wants to know. Pivotals fall in between the ages of 2 generations, Gen Z and millennials, essentially 12 to call it 34. There are 7 billion people on this planet, and over half of them are under the age of 30. 90% of them live in a world where pivotals are more globally connected than any other generation before. And 71% of pivotals in the US have a friend internationally. They have not just grown up on technology, they have been raised on social media and mobile first. And they watch between 2 to 4 hours of YouTube a week, check their phones over 160 times a day, and take at least 1 selfie a day. People like Patrick, who you met yesterday, value their lived experience over authority. Inequality against race and gender is still unequal for them. As much as everyone thinks we're all equal, we're all still living in a different place. Pivotals are hungry for the unique, the impactful, and the real. They care deeply about racial and LGBTQ issues. Hashtags like Black Lives Matter and Love Wins were the top of trending hashtags in social because of their passion. They have a keen nose for smelling the inauthentic and the photoshopped, and they call it like they see it. 87% of them are tired of everything looking perfect. I am not here to convince you of the virtues of an entire generation. My goal here is to share with you their insight into their values, their cultural power, and they also have a massive economic power. So, how many people in this room know what FOMO is? Okay. It's that feeling when you're running through social, you see what everyone else is doing. They're at Coachella, they're at the Met Gala bathroom, they're wearing Air Force One off-whites that I want, right? When thinking about putting together FOMO, we thought it was really important to get out of our lived experience and into theirs, which took us to 8 cities, multiple homes, multiple markets, and we interviewed over 1,000 people. Sorry, get some water. Yeah, thank you. Hydrate. Thank you. Okay, had to. All right. So we went to 8 markets and interviewed over 1,000 people. We did an ethnographic deep dive on what moves them, what's their approach to culture, identity, and politics. Social media has amplified subcultures across the world, creating a new global social tribe, new languages like emojis, and unique value systems. We've captured these trends in 4 reports. Microcultural America, Z-Boys, Wild Mild, and Digital Soul Seekers. Meet Evita. Microcultural America. We hear a lot about diversity and inclusion. Pivotals are not wanting for mainstream culture to accept them. They are breaking the mainstream open. Evita says, whatever your definition of diversity was, flip that on its head a couple of times, and that's what we're trying to represent. Demographics are moot when it comes to pivotals. 63% wish they did not have to label themselves. They don't like categories of race, gender, or sexuality. Their identity is curated. Nearly half of pivotals consider themselves third culture kids, not from one demo, but a unique mix of backgrounds, including sexuality. So let me introduce you to a few more people that we met during our study. Meet Viva, Amanda, and Shay. Viva is a 16-year-old Sudanese refugee living in an all-white town in Maine, part of a Sudanese dance troupe. My parents try to keep me rooted in my culture, but I am in a whole new different culture, and it can get a little complicated. Amanda is 25 years old and refuses to choose between being Black or Mexican. She calls herself Blaxican. She is like 1/4 of pivotals who identify as mixed race. Latino, Japa, Mestizo, New Yorkian, Blackanese. 61% of pivotals describe themselves as a niche category, describing their gender, race, sexuality, nationality. Shay is like half of pivotals we spoke with. She says sexuality is on a spectrum. She says, I don't like to place myself anywhere in any category when it comes to sexuality. I'm attracted to people, and if I identified as a lesbian, that means I could only date females. Labels and demographics and rules for pivotals are over. They don't like rules. And their approach to identity is microcultural, and it's key for seeing the bigger picture of this generation. Meet Jordan and Dion. I think what really surprised me most during this study was that even when interviewing the whitest, straightest pivotals, masculinity is clearly changing. Jordan says men are taught that it's not okay to be vulnerable or emotional, and that toxic masculinity is damaging and oppressive. So like Jordan, 54% of pivotal men consider themselves feminists, thank God, right? Young men are increasingly rejecting labels like male, gay, or trans in favor of being just me. Over 40% of pivotal men describe themselves as gender bending, and 38% of pivotal men are actively experimenting with their style. As Dion says, there's a huge white space with the male beauty consumer, and you're losing half of your clientele by just not including them in your advertising. Meet Sue. She is definitely wild mild. Politics has never felt more extreme. Pivotals embrace extremities of opposing views. They revel in contradictions. Sue thinks that conservatives and liberals can be both mild and wild as one another. They have different perspectives, and they have different perspectives on what's right and wrong socioeconomically and politically. Sue is half white and half Filipino female, and she embraces both sides of herself. She's an academic who also has a passion for pole dancing. She prefers embracing both sides instead of needing to be, and she loves watching people's reactions when she tells them she's a pole dancer. Meet Eve and Shay, digital soul seekers. The quest for spirituality is guided by the digital and globally inspired. 66% explore ancient rituals from different countries, which includes spiritual well-being practices. A third actively meditate or practice self-improvement. And the fact that most of this room knows what ayahuasca or mushrooms are proves this trend. True. Don't say, everyone knows. Okay. How many people have done it? You don't have to say. I tried it once. I'm just gonna be honest. I did. It was good. It's fine. It's fine. I'm a millennial. It's fine. It's pivotal. Okay. So meet Eve, who's Black, Asian, gay, and raised by a conservative, all-white Christian family in Alabama. I'm a full believer in Christ, faith, and the power of love. There's so much beauty and peace in other religions. And if you're constantly exposing yourself to different communities, cultures, and conversations, it allows you to love more. Pivotals are looking for brands with deeper meaning. In a moment where woke is one of the biggest buzzwords, our friend Shay believes that we are in a period of enlightenment. Spiritual growth is the only thing that really matters. We can either progress or we can regress. Pivotals view beauty very, very, very differently. Beauty used to be about a concealer culture of covering up something that was wrong with you, making you younger, thinner, lighter, any imperfection that you felt. But beauty was done in secret. It belonged to the realm of the elite. Think of the classic line. Maybe it's Mabel, or maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. I can't sing. I tried. Okay. But beauty was a club. You had to be skinny, white, or borderline anorexic. And black and ethnic women were simply just exotic. Beauty for pivotals is different. One of the greatest insights from our study is that beauty is no longer about product or technique. It's about a cultural movement. Beauty is a cultural expression and creativity, a way to challenge convention. 48% of pivotals follow a beauty influencer, meaning one of the best ways to reach a pivotal is through beauty. Beauty is not just a part of culture. Beauty defines culture, a culture where niche is the new mass and beauty is the influence. So let's talk for a second about influence versus affluence. The most important thing to understand about pivotals is the value of influence over affluence. Culture used to be driven by affluence, when the aspiration was to accumulate things, to be exclusive, projecting an unattainable image and ideal, and that's an outdated model of celebrity. As content has democratized, influence has also democratized, and power no longer comes from education, pedigree, or family name. That was affluence. Pivotals are not compelled by affluence. They are not impressed by it, and they see right through it. 73% of pivotals are driven in their purchasing decisions by social media influencers, compared to 27% of them who are driven by traditional celebrities. They do not have the aspirations of owning things, fancy cars or dresses. They have options like Airbnb, Rent the Runway, and Uber. So let's just say they want the experience of owning a private jet. They go to a company that specializes in private jet photo shoots. Why work hard for half your life to own a PJ when you can just have the impact and the Instagram without the hassle and commitment of ownership? Just don't make the mistake that Bow Wow made, posting an Instagram on a private jet and then getting photographed on a commercial flight. I think you have a picture of it. Where is it? There you are. See? Caught. Instagram is an aspirational magazine, not of your own, but of your experiences. And a big part of what we focus on at BeautyCon is the experiential. Right? Brutal. It's so brutal. But you know you have that friend. You know you have that friend. Or two. I do. Okay. Images alone have no power. Images have become powerful when attached to stories. And the story is your identity, your brand, and your influence, and that story is you. So we can play a mini game of affluence versus influence, and you can guess. Right? Raise your hand if you believe the Kardashians are an example of affluence. Influence. Okay, good. You're smart. You know everything. Okay, perfect. Royal family, obviously, affluence, yes? So, conclusion. We could spend an entire conference talking about pivotals, and maybe we will. And this generation has everyone shook. No one knows what to make of Rihanna and Kylie's billion-dollar beauty brands. I'm loving it. I'm loving that they're destroying the beauty, like they're just disrupting the space. It's why I'm hooked. And despite adversity that I faced from the C-suite and investor community in 2014, when everyone thought I was nuts to get involved with this company, I knew it was the next wave. I was essentially like a lone wolf, and I decided to double down with my own capital and time and become a goodwill ambassador from Pivotals to you. So it's clear this generation is waking the beauty industry up, but I don't think it's just the beauty industry. It's everything. So that's why I'm so passionate about Pivotals, and I've embraced them fully. I think my ability to understand this generation is rooted in me being an Iranian American first generation who was obsessed with Western culture. So, BeautyCon. What started out as an experiment has turned into an international festival, an e-com brand, a business, a media company, a brand, and as the New Yorker says, a movement. Young girls have finally found a tribe that's real and values them, and some even have the logo tattooed on their arm. There is an opportunity for all of you in this room to engage with this audience in a totally different way. So I encourage you to just dive in. Come to London. Oh yeah, that's right. BeautyCon London is, I forgot. I want to say, BeautyCon London is this Saturday. So if you are in town this Saturday, you are welcome to come and see them in the wild, IRL, real life, screaming their guts out for gurus and panels and beauty products. So it's pretty cool. Thanks for your time.